Hello, everyone. Lovely to have you all here. As you can see, yes, I can see, we're joined by the lovely Harjit Dhaliwal and the awesome Hayley Phillips and the distinctly average Andrew Taylor of Intune newsletter fame. Hi, Andrew. How are you doing?
Averagely.
Average. Good.
Yeah.
I have to say, Hayley, that was seconds before before we went live. That was seconds. That raised my heart rate a little bit there. But thank you for that. We Oh, there's no audio from you. We'll get that sorted out as we start, unless we're going to be doing this in sign language only. I can't hear you. Okay. So, Andrew, welcome. You weren't on the bill for this, but you joined. You were bored. You don't do much here, do you?
I had nothing else better to do. It was fine. Not
You're just
like
putting
a
together
day job or anything.
And
the
you've
next
heard
newsletter.
you do newsletter. You're not busy until Friday, really, are you? So
Friday's a busy day. Yeah. I just cram it all in Friday morning before it goes out.
Yeah, and then you take Friday afternoon off.
Is that a thing?
Well, for Friday afternoon, yeah, they exist. Maybe
okay.
as soon as you press send, you just go back into your little. Anyway, you like graph, right? That's a thing you care about.
It's been said that I know a bit about graph now and again.
Good.
Yeah.
Well,
Not as much as Hayley though.
No, exactly, and that's why Hayley is the lead for this. Hayley, are you? Can I hear you? Do you have a voice?
So. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but it sounds like you're using the wrong mic because it's a little bit distant. But it's fine.
Maybe just not talking loud enough.
Maybe. Where's the mic?
How about now?
It's
That
echoing
sounds like a webcam mic.
Better?
I don't think it's that mic.
This is fun. Okay, cool. I have a mic right here.
No, I know, but I think it's using a different mic, and it doesn't sound like it's coming from there. It's like some other mic.
Tap the mic, see what happens.
Yeah, tap the mic.
Tap the mic.
Yep, it is. It's on.
That's better.
Yeah.
That was much better.
Okay. My voice has kind of decided to leave as of yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
Very good. But it's not echoey anymore. That's much better.
much
good.
better.
Great. I know how to do tech stuff, I guess, sometimes.
Well, thankfully, and I don't know how to do graphs, so that's why we're all here. Harjit and I had a brief discussion before we went live as well, while we were waiting for you two to turn up. I asked Harjit if he knew what graph was, and he gave an answer, and it was wrong. I don't know graph, but I know Harjit was wrong. So this should be fun.
Should be fun.
Yeah. So, Hayley, you recently joined Robopack. I don't know your job title, a Principal Cloud Automation Engineer. There you go. Welcome. Based out of Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty early?
Yeah, it's 6 a.m. So that's why when you were like, you joined a little late. Oh, let's turn those lights off. It was, I got up pretty early. So
Yeah, thanks. Thanks very much. Do you want to briefly explain your role or maybe who you are, just for people who haven't seen you on live stream before?
Sure. So part of being on this call is I've spent a lot of time learning graph, and my role previously, I was Intune administrator, and it was quite difficult going from managing on-prem previously with Config Manager to moving to graph and using APIs to manage everything. And so now here at Robopack, I am working on all of the ways to align all of the graph endpoints with all of the products that we're building to make everyone, every Intune admin's experience better and easier and more logical in their day-to-day work.
Because I think both products that we currently, well, at least Robopack and Tenant Manager, we have more than that, but both those products rely on graph pretty heavily, right? That's
Yes.
my very basic understanding without knowing much about graph. That's
Yes.
They rely on it, right? Good. So how did you get started then with graph?
I cried a lot. I'll just start there. How I got started, honestly, was reading Andrew's Intune cookbook. Sorry, Andrew, to make you uncomfortable, but his first book is kind of where I was like, well, I know PowerShell like enough, and so I started learning about all the basics of understanding authentication and endpoints. which is basically just the API where you're going to grab information from. That's where I started playing around with it. And I would be in the Intune portal and I would just kind of click around, do things, and then I would watch in the network tab and see exactly what calls were being made. And I would bring that into VS Code and turn that into a PowerShell snippet and start practicing and just see what was happening in the console as well. And then Merrill Fernando, he was a PM, an Entra PM at Microsoft. He has done a significant amount of work educating about Graph and the different permission structures. And he developed a tool called Graph X-Ray, where when you open it in the network tab, when you're in Intune or Entra and quite a few of the other Microsoft portals, but those are the two I'm most familiar with, you can see the exact calls in either Graph PowerShell, which is the PowerShell module for Graph, or just the straight REST method API call. So it makes it really easy to kind of translate. Well, easy is relative. It makes it easier to translate what you're trying to accomplish into Graph calls that you can make and then build automation out of.
Because when I started to try and figure out what Graph was, the documentation's pretty ropey, right? It's not. It kind of dumps you really deep into these are the endpoints. This is the really technical detail. And at that point in my learning journey, I completely blown away by it. I had no idea how to get started, and so I kind of left it there, really. And I've been lucky enough not to need it because I have friends who know Graph. And I just.
But I gotta say though, I really like, Haley, how you approach the learning of Graph. Your systematic approach and chunking it down slowly and taking snippets. That's really brilliant way of learning. Yeah.
Israel, we didn't plan a demo. We didn't plan anything, just to be clear. But we didn't plan a demo. But is there a way you could show me what Graph X-Ray is? Because I've heard of that, and I like the idea that you can see what the Intune portal's doing, and I understand that bit because I've seen LinkedIn posts about it, but I haven't actually used it or really had any chance to even see it.
Yeah, I can absolutely do that. Give me just a moment to get this all pulled up. I need to make sure that I actually have it installed on my browser, because that is the one thing is I have bounced around so much from different computers and whatnot that I don't use it as much anymore.
Of course, yeah, you wouldn't need to.
Let me see
I'll
if
let
I
you do
can
that.
get it pulled up
In the
for you.
meantime, Andrew, I've got a great question which I think would be useful for you to answer, which is with, here I'm trying to figure out how to learn Graph API, Microsoft Graph API, in order to do some stuff. But with Claude and coding and Codex and GPT 5.5, is it worth actually learning this kind of stuff? Because I could just do all of this through Claude Code and just get it all done for me without having to learn. Is it worth doing any of this?
You could try and do it in Claude. It will hallucinate random commandlets which don't exist. And last time I checked, it's trained on about 2024 data. So you're also missing anything that's been released in the last 12 months.
Okay.
And of course, when you try and troubleshoot it, and you just tell Claude to fix it, and it adds another 500 lines of random code that you then have to drill through. I've tried it. It made up half the PowerShell commandlets.
And I guess it would probably get there in the end, but it probably wouldn't be. It probably wouldn't be, one, a useful way to learn because it's going to be messy on its own way to figure out how to do it, and two, it's probably not going to be troubleshootable. Is that a word?
Yes.
Possible to troubleshoot in
the
future.
Yeah, it's going to be complicated. You're not going to really have any idea what it's doing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how secure if you're sharing it publicly or using it and it's got some hard-coded API key, that's always a risk. And there's security issues, and of course you'll probably be bankrupted in token usage.
Fine. Okay.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So it's still worth learning it then.
It's worth learning, yes. By all means, point Claude at the script and say, how could I clean this up a bit? But it won't be able to do the initial thinking for you on which endpoints you need to hit.
Right. I mean, eventually it might, but by then, the world will have fundamentally changed. So all good.
Yeah, there'll be robots walking around and Arnold Schwarzenegger chasing them down and stuff.
Indeed. Haley, how are you getting on with the?
I am good.
setup?
It turns out, so on my personal device, I regularly use Safari, and so Graph X-Ray works specifically on Edge, Chrome, Firefox. So I had to get that installed really quick. And yeah, here we go. Okay. So I can share my screen.
Super.
If that is helpful. Hold on.
That would be a good start. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's often helpful for a demo if we can see what you're thinking.
Although
you can try and describe it if you want.
Describe it, yeah. Or even.
Can you guys see the window that I'm on?
No, you need. Oh, yeah. Sorry, my bad. There you go.
Okay. So if you just Google Graph X-Ray, this is Merrill's website, and it kind of gives you all of the documentation of what you're going to want to do. There's a really great YouTube video that he has about exactly how he goes through of making the call, and then the various languages that it supports. And then there's just tons of great documentation. So all I did is just hit install for Edge, because that's what I'm on. I have my Intune tenant open. And then when I go over here and clicked Graph X-Ray, this is where it has the step-by-step guide. It's telling me that I need to open the developer tools. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to go over to more tools. Oh, and we can see Graph X-Ray right here. And then you can turn on the Ultra X-Ray, but I'm just going to show what I used to do. Oops, hold on. So I need to open this in this tab. It has been a while since I have done this. There we go. Why? Okay. That's cool. How did I do that?
Does Merrill keep this updated now he's not at Microsoft?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's really... now that a lot of this is open sourced now, so members of the community are helping keep it up to date. So let's see here. I'm just trying to see why it's not in... Oh, hold on. I got to open developer tools on this tab. Let's see. There we go. So then we're going to go back over here. And we're going to go PowerShell. So say, for instance, I'm going in here and I'm going to go look at devices. This down here we can make smaller. But anything that I'm doing in the portal, say that I'm going and I'm looking at devices. If I say I want to do PowerShell, I would just do... There's the couple of different options. There's REST. So invoke REST method. That's a PowerShell wrapper that handles a lot of the extra information that you would be getting back from an API endpoint. So we could do that. I was just going to click through here. So let's see. And it's going to show me exactly all of the graph calls that I would make. So the one thing that's really helpful about invoke REST method is, like I had mentioned, that you can use it with any API. So say, for instance, you're in a multi-cloud environment and you have data that's in AWS, this will also work. But what I find to be the easiest, the land that lives between invoke REST method and a regular graph PowerShell module, which can be really frustrating and the commands can be really, really long, is invoke MG graph request. And so when I do most things, this is kind of how I go through. Is I want to just use the invoke graph request and kind of see what all of those calls are going to be. And so every time that you're making a call to Intune or Entra or any of the other Microsoft API endpoints that are documented, you're going to just start it off with invoke MG graph request. The method, you're going to say get, typically, because you're like, hey, graph, please give me data, please give me information. And then you're telling it, I want you to go look in these places. And so that makes it an incredibly efficient call to Microsoft saying, hey, I know I have data here. Give me that data back. This is the type of data that I want. So this is just a quick intro to Graph X-Ray to kind of start going about your day-to-day and kind of figure out exactly what you need to do to automate the management of your devices.
And so you can take one of those commands, that is the copy button on the right-hand side. You can take one of those and just run it in either a terminal or VS Code within some kind of application, and it'll return some data.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. So, and I'm happy to show that as well. One of the things that I find trips people up quite a bit when it comes to talking about graph is, APIs and stuff are typically something that developers have used and is not something the traditional admin has had a lot of experience in. So when you're going from PowerShell previously, you're just used to, all right, well, I know that I need to figure out what my commandlet is. It's verb noun, or verb noun, like get -az. Well, I'm so used to Azure stuff, but you have your AD like devices or groups or what have you, and you're not having to deal with things like authentication, which is going to require an app registration, or you're not dealing with scopes, which is the various levels of permission of whether or not you actually have access to get that information from graph. And then there's the element of paging, which is depending on the shop that you're in, you could have 500 devices or you could have 5,000. Well, getting 5,000 information about 5,000 devices or groups or whatever, that's going to be a pretty heavy load that the graph endpoint is trying to filter for you. So then it's only going to return you, up to 100 at a time, because it doesn't want to say, oh, hey, let's give you all of the metadata of these devices. So the paging comes in of, hey, just give me the first page. So there's elements of graph that you're adding additional information and additional skills that you've not used before that can be really overwhelming.
Yeah, the paging concept sounds pretty annoying. So if I had like 5,000 devices and I was trying to just return them all, so I could do like a filter on those based on the output, I would have to somehow pull them all together before filtering. Like if I was trying to find a device with a particular name, is there a way to filter before it lists all of the things?
Yep, absolutely. So the other tool that I used a lot to learn how to use Graph is Graph Explorer. So if you go to developer.microsoft.com and you log in, so I need to do that. I thought I did, but now you're going to see all of the different tenants that I have. And it starts off with graph.microsoft v1. There's v1 and there's beta. I typically use beta all the time because those are the newest endpoints. This isn't Microsoft recommendation per se, so don't always use that, but that's the one that I use. And then
what is, sorry, just beta versus v1, what does Intune use? Like all of the stuff that I saw in
it uses both. So what happens is, as the team at Microsoft is like coming out with, like, say myself or Andrew or whoever is asking, hey, I need an endpoint to be able to get this specific information, either from, let's say you're trying to do something in Entra. They're going to create an endpoint with additional information, or say they come out with new features, or there's like public preview on something. That's typically going to show up in beta. And once it's been reliable enough, and they've then promote it to V1. I've seen discrepancies between the two, so I just typically use beta all the time just because I can't really be bothered to use V1.
So everything that is in V1 is also in beta?
Yes. Yeah. So it's always in beta, and then V1 is kind of more like stable release. Like, that's how I think of it.
So yeah, use beta. Use beta is a good bit of advice.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, so everything that you're going to do in Graph, you always are going to need at the beginning this endpoint. So you're going to need, graph.microsoft.com/either beta or V1, and then your actual call is going to start. So Microsoft starts it off with /me, and that's just so, you likely know information about your account. You likely know, like, for instance, this is in my own tenant. Well, I know that my display name right here is Haley Phillips. I know that, my job title, I know what my email address is. Please don't email me. I'm not great at responding to emails. So if you see this later in the future, I'm not going to respond. I'm not great at that. But you can start seeing, because you're looking at yourself, it makes it really easy to kind of correlate when you were talking about asking, hey, how do I figure out and filter out devices? Well, if you start off with a known good or things that you already know about, for instance, yourself, you can start seeing kind of how the JSON is aligned. So that way you can start taking that information when you go to look at another like device or user or group or what have you, because, oh, I know what this is supposed to look like. I know what it looks like in the portal. I know what this is now going to look like when I'm looking in Graph Explorer. And so now I can build whatever automation I need because I've done it from known good information.
That makes sense, because I was speaking to Steve yesterday, and I was trying to figure out why when you go to Graph Explorer it says /me, like that always confused me, because what do you start there? And then I didn't really understand. So that makes sense. That it's a good place to start, because it's a thing you definitely have access to, and it's a thing you should be able to at least understand the data that you get back.
Yeah, exactly. And so then the question that you brought up about being able to filter. So say, for instance, I know that I'm going to go look at devices. So let's say that I go device management, or like I just go devices. What I typically do, and this is where the paging question you came in, I just first always start looking, okay, I know that I'm going to be looking for, a device. Okay, now I'm going to hit the next. Okay, do I know the device ID? Well, I know it's right here. And then I can start building out my filtering. And then once I do that, then I can start figuring out, okay, how many devices do I have? And the principle that we learn in PowerShell and a lot of other programming languages, but specifically PowerShell, you always want to filter left. Like, I don't want to go and do a get and get all metadata about every single device in my environment and then try to filter through all of that. No, I want to get as little information as possible. So I always start with, one thing that I'm looking for and start building from there. So that way I can figure out exactly what I'm filtering for. And then the questions of paging of, okay, if I have 5,000 devices, how do I make this be efficient? That comes in after I figure out the information that I'm looking for. So it's a step-by-step process when you're working with Graph.
Paging only matters when you don't really know what you're looking for, or when you have to do something specifically big.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I keep making comments about paging specifically because it's really important, because if you are not consistent and understanding your environment and you don't know, like, hey, I have 5,000 devices, and you look at one device and you're like, okay, I know exactly all of the information that I have. And back to Andrew's comment about like Claude or not learning Graph, if you don't spend the time learning the fact of, okay, I've figured out all of the information that I need about a device, as our example, and then I get this data back. Well, oh yay, I have 50 endpoints. Well, some alarm bells in your brain should be going off. Well, I have 5,000 devices. How come I'm only getting 50 back? And that's when you start looking at, okay, paging, let's make sure that the filters that I'm using is pulling in all of the devices that meet this criteria, kind of similar to when you're making a dynamic device rule in Intune. You're going to go test through that query and then validate and make sure that you actually created that query properly. So that's why I'm making the comment about paging, is making sure that you know what data should be there before you immediately hand this off to your C-suite. And he's like, why is there only 50 devices that belong to said group or are in said location? So
yeah. Okay, so I guess I understand Graph a little better now, or at least the foundational things. But you talked about the fact that you had to log in order to get access to that, clearly. But how would you use Graph to query data in, like, as an application? Because, for example, Robopack and Tenant Manager use an enterprise application in order to access data in an Intune tenant. How does that play with Graph? How do you use how How's
So
authentication?
I will say one of the reasons that I find that some of the authentication pieces and learning graph is difficult is because, as we know, Microsoft is really great at naming things and making it easy to understand.
Yeah.
So the core bit of authentication, you have an application registration. And so that when I go into my tenant and I make, and I'm saying this as me, Haley, my tenant, always hype, I would go and make an app registration where I would say, this is all of the access that this app registration has. So let me actually go open, hold on. And there, I find it helpful to actually like look at all of this stuff. So I'm going to just open my Azure tenant so I can kind of point these things out as I'm talking through it. All right. Okay. So I have one named Graph. This certificate expired. That's not what we're going to focus on. But when I go to create the app registration, I'm going to go and give it API permissions. And this is all, very well documented by Meryl and also on the Microsoft docs. It's a little confusing, but that's okay. We'll go back to kind of how you can walk yourself through it. But basically, I'm saying I'm giving these permissions where I can go learn, I can get the read-write permissions to device management RBAC. And you can see here that there's the type is application. And so there's application or there's delegated. Application means that nobody has to be logged in to use this. These permissions apply regardless, as long as you meet the authentication requirements, either with a secret or a managed identity, et cetera. That's a later talk. But you create an app registration that lives forever in my tenant. I'm saying that in my tenant, these are the permissions. Now, say for instance, I go into Robopac's tenant or whatnot, or I create an application or something that you all want to use. What happens is when you go to you give permissions, that little pop-up, that's creating an enterprise app. And so that's an instance of the app registration that only exists in your enterprise. So that's kind of how I think of it, is like enterprise apps can only exist in our enterprise, but the actual app registration, that exists in the tenant of the owner who created it. So the enterprise app is going to have all of those permissions that I created in my tenant to allow you to interact with Graph for information about your tenant. So that's how I think of it. So when you're trying to authenticate, you would have to be able to authenticate to that either app registration if you own it and you own those permissions and you can change it, or that enterprise app if you don't own it. So that's the first step, is the authentication piece, is you're going to use these permissions. And then part of the reason I brought up Graph Explorer, why it's so helpful, is when I go over here, I can see all of the permissions that are needed in order for me to get this information about devices. I have gone way too far and hit consent to everything because this is my tenant and I can do whatever I want. But say, for instance, I didn't have all of this consent and this was like a blank page and I got, an error saying that access is denied. I would systematically go through and give the lowest level permission and see if that returns the information that I need. So then I can figure out, okay, what permissions do I need? And then what is the call to get all of the information that I need? And that's how I would go through and start building those building blocks to build automation to make my day-to-day easier.
This is amazing. This is amazing.
I heard of Graph Explorer and I guess I just didn't really play enough with it to understand that kind of thing. So when permissions issues came up, I would just grant everything because I was trying to learn. But as you say, it's a really good way to find out the minimum permissions you need by giving permission and seeing if it actually fails. That's really clever. Before Graph, before this version of Graph, there was like Exchange PowerShell and Azure AD PowerShell and all these modules. Are they still there? Is that still a thing?
They're still okay. I don't know because I don't pay attention, because I just got so frustrated and just learned graph. Because I was like, well, now I can do whatever I need because I just figure out the API endpoint, and then I can go from there and figure out exactly what I need to do. So now, rather than having a bunch of different PowerShell modules that could have conflicting authentication libraries that throw all kinds of errors with that, and like if you load too many at the same time, like I just got so sick of all of that, and I just was like, nope, I'm gonna just learn graph. I'm gonna learn invoke REST method, and went from there.
I mean, you can just say you don't know if you like. I mean, it's fine for you not to know something.
You told me that this was my chance to talk, and so I figured, rather than a short answer, I should give the audience, more information.
You're right. You're right. But in reality, I'm going to have to Google it then. So, but why would you, if they do exist, why would you choose to use graph? I know you're saying you just because you got frustrated, but why would someone choose the general graph thing, which covers everything, it seems, versus a very specific thing that covers Exchange or Azure AD? Is there a technical reason that you would have to use the modules sometimes?
I think that a technical reason that would be specific to your use case. Like, say you have like legacy on-prem, something like that. I would challenge that if somebody came to me, but that would be specific to your use case. The reason that I would do graph is similar to the authentication pieces with the app registration. You can be incredibly granular with permissions, which is helpful. So I could make 5 different app registrations. And so say, for instance, you were in my tenant and I didn't really trust you to not blow away all of my devices. You're still able to learn graph, but back to that point of all of the permissions, I would be able to scope out very granular permissions for you where you could still get your day-to-day job done, and you could still use graph. And I don't have to stress of like, oh my gosh, I accidentally gave you, oh, now that you have the PowerShell Exchange, you installed it for the PowerShell gallery. Oh man, now you're going to go be able to see everything. I can do this on a much smaller scale and make sure that, oh, you know what, we can systematically go through and make sure that you only have access to the information that you should be having.
Cool. Also, thank you for that. We've crowdsourced the answer to my specific question. Teams PowerShell and Exchange PowerShell are still available, but Azure AD PowerShell was deprecated for Graph, and Patrick mentioned that it's decommissioned as of 2025. So that
Exchange still has uses. There are some things you can't do in Graph yet.
Yep.
Right.
And there's still calls that say Azure AD in there. So that's also part of it. Is there's weird hiccups as well. But yeah. Yes.
Cool. 2 questions have come in the chat. If we can switch to questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I will see if I can. Oh, there you go. It's on the screen. So from Patrick, does it require read-write to play around with, or is read enough to test it out?
That's in relation to Graph X-Ray, he says.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. So Graph X-Ray, you can install in your browser. And so when you go to use it, say whatever tenant you're in, either Entra or Intune, when you go in there, you have to have at least access to this tenant, because for Graph to pop up, I'm having to log into my tenant, and so I have to have access to it. So Graph the Graph X-Ray is just pulling off of the information that you already have, because it's just a wrapper for
read only is fine for initial, as long as you're only doing get calls. If you do post or patch, you'll need write.
But I guess if you're using Graph X-Ray and clicking around the console, it's limited by what permissions you've got anyway, right? So you couldn't do a patch because the button wouldn't be there in the console, right?
Yeah. Merrill's Graph X-Ray tool, all it's doing is giving you the calls. Graph Explorer, that's where you're actually going to be able to do, a get. You could do a put or a patch, and that's going to be, to Andrew's point, based on the permissions that you have to change that data. So these are the first one. Graph X-Ray is a tool to kind of, if you're used to being in the Intune portal or Entra portal and you're trying to figure out, oh my gosh, I know what to do by clicking around. How do I start building out automations? I find it really helpful to start doing that and kind of map out your workflow as you're going step by step. But then the Graph Explorer, that's the real workhorse that I use, a good 75% of the time to make sure that I have all of the metadata that I would never be able to see in the portal.
Cool. Good. Thank you for that. Another question, but this one I think might take you a few minutes or a little while to set up a demo for. So I'll show you the question, and then I'll ask Andrew a separate question while we wait for you to do that. Maybe you're going to say, no, I can't, but would you be able to show a demo on paging?
Yeah. Let me double check that I have all of that ready to go. I have, I brought up my, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
well,
I can.
while you
Yep.
get that ready, I will ask a different question to Andrew.
Remember, our demo tenant has 6,000 odd devices, Haley. You can use that one.
Oh, that's a great idea. I was using my tenant.
Sorry, our demo tenant has 6,000 devices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where are they
Wow.
all?
Where?
I mean, I'm not saying they exist, but they're in Intune.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Hold on, let me open that one.
Well, Haley, I'm not showing the screen just yet. I'm moving to a different question. So,
Right.
great, get that set up, and then we can come back in a few seconds.
Okay.
So, Andrew, from a least privileged perspective, should we not be using delegated rather than app permissions?
There's two ways of looking at this. Delegated means you have more control over what the users can do because they can only do what their role allows them to do. But looking at it the other way, if you use application permissions, the users don't need any permissions themselves. So you could give, if you use application permission, you could give someone with no Entra or Intune rights at all access to run a particular script. If you're using delegated permissions, they need to log in as them, and it'll pass through what permissions they have. So possibly it's better from least privilege, but I think from a usability perspective, application is the better experience.
I guess as long as you're handling the roles within whatever application you're building that uses this information, because effectively, if you've requested every permission in order to do all the things, anyone who uses that without any additional restriction will be able to do all of the things.
Yes. Yeah, this comes back to Haley's multiple app bridges with different permissions. Only give them access to what they're able to do. And that way you can use application rather than delegated. The problem with delegated is it's permissions, not just in graph. So if you give them permission to delete devices, they can also do that in Intune portal.
Right. That makes sense. Good. Thank you for the question. So someone just comments, don't use it with a global admin role activated. That came in around 3 minutes ago, so I guess that could be X-Ray or...
You still have to add the permissions onto the app reg. Even X-Ray, even Graph Explorer has an app reg and enterprise app underneath. So if you're a global admin, it won't have extra permissions until you approve them within the application.
Right. So it's safe to try out.
It's safe to try out, yes.
It's taking me a second to log in just because, trying to get all of these devices. Because I was going to log into just my personal one, and then I realized I don't have as many devices.
You need at least 100, otherwise you can't demonstrate pagination.
Is there a way to paginate sooner than 100? Like, is there a way to say page up 5?
Some let you do a top select or a top. It's patchy, if I'm honest.
Right.
It's safer to demo from one with. That's why we have a lot of devices and users and groups.
6,000 is a lot, but we've got customers with hundreds of thousands of devices. Is there a do we have to be careful about pulling too much data from Graph so that we don't?
You've got to watch for throttling. I can't tell you the Intune limits, they're better. The Entra limit is 1 request a second. Intune limits, you can do more. They're documented somewhere. But if you hit the limit, it'll throttle you and you just get errors back saying you've been throttled. And then you've got to pause for however long before your next request goes in. So yeah, it's a risk. You might want to add a sleep inside your scripts. Right.
Wow. It's a whole different world that I had no idea about. This was wonderful.
Remember that any Entra call, create group, add members, assign things, anything in Entra is a 1 second per request.
Is that why Intune's slow?
No
No
comment.
comment.
Sorry.
Here, one second. I'm just grabbing my app ID so that I can log in, because so one of the benefits of what we were just talking about is I find that this is a lot more secure in the sense that I don't have to, like, all of the steps that I'm having to go through for me to log in and even do anything. I have to know what app registration I'm going to be using and be able to authenticate. So it reduces the risk. Say you have a very eager help desk person. Well, they're going to need to know that app reg that they're going to sign into. They're going to have the permissions. So you don't have to, I mean, there's, just like with anything, of course there's risks, but it makes the risks, in my opinion, a lot smaller. So I have to go find my app registration really quick. So 1 second.
I was doing some research before we even started talking about maybe doing a demo session like this to figure out how I could try and learn Graph. And one of the things I found was that it was actually mainly aimed at developers. And the assumption was that you were using Graph to build an application to collect data from Entra and Intune, etc. But do we see engineers using this to query devices and that kind of thing? Is that how you guys use it when you're adminning tenants?
Yeah, I rarely go in UI. I prefer Graph's quicker and more reliable.
Yep.
When UI goes down, Graph hasn't gone down. It's the UI that's gone off.
Right.
Yep.
That's you though, Andrew, and we know you only come out on
that's
Fridays.
what I do. I mean, at the same time, like once I believe that this is just such a supercharger personally. And so what happens is, as you're getting more and more comfortable with all of this, your usage and need for being in the portal just goes down over and over. And so that's what I find to be really, really helpful. So
and do Microsoft move the portal around pretty much weekly just to freshen things up, I think. Do they do that with Graph? Do you find that some of the places you would go to find these
there's
things?
still a lot of Azure AD references in there because renaming stuff would break probably most of Intune, as well as every third-party tool.
Right.
It's a UI move, doesn't necessarily change the backend.
Interesting.
What are some of the gotchas or challenges IT admins still face with Graph and Intune? Are there any?
Oh, a lot. Like, I mean, I regularly hear people are like, I don't know how to use Graph. How do I use, like, there's, the first question is, how do I even figure out these Graph calls? I'm not a developer. How do I authenticate? What PowerShell modules do I need to use? Like,
Right.
those are all very frequent things that I hear people talking about. So,
Who's Jason?
yeah, who's Jason? Why is he in my tenant? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So,
Yes.
yes.
Oh my God.
Or in my tenant, why is one of my devices now called Bob? That's a question I'm often keep asking.
Let me just. Yes, exactly. I'm just making sure really quick that I can actually authenticate and get all of this working properly really quick.
Andrew, so you had someone build 6,000 devices, just like a summer project or something?
No, I scripted it.
Ah.
I had a very big Azure VM which sat running for a week, churning out autopilot devices and then deleting them and building another one.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Wow.
That's good of you. I mean, I'm sure this was for work purposes rather than just.
It was for work purposes, yes. We also have 60,000 users and 60,000 groups for testing.
I think Johan Arenmark, he does something similar too when he's doing his demos and stuff. He just builds like hundreds of devices and tears them down and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. I am ready to show once we are ready to. Yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay. So
I've broken your screen. Bear with me. I moved stuff around.
You're good.
Let me move that to somewhere more useful. There you go.
All
Okay,
right.
I can see it.
Make sure that I'm sharing. I'm going to now share on my ultra-wide screen, so I apologize. Hopefully, everybody can see.
I can do a limited amount of. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to zoom in quite a bit.
I can do that. All good.
Okay. Part of the reason is I wanted to make sure that because I'm going to flip around to different things. So when we're going to, I see that there's a QR code to the side. So when we're talking about the authentication piece, here, let me zoom in even more, make it easier. I'm minimizing this. So we have your tenant ID right
I'm
here.
getting motion sickness here.
I'm sorry. Okay. I was looking at what people see. Okay. So you have your tenant ID here. You have your app ID, which is the client ID, and then you have the app secret if you're using a secret on it. Then what we're going to do is we're building the source URL. This is so that way we can actually get a token. And that token basically is like, hey, the app registration has it has the permissions and in this tenant. And then we're building out the authentication body, which it's putting the tenant ID in here. These are all of the ordered hash table for the body, and which is doing a post to graph and saying we're using invoke REST method. We're doing a post with all of this body information, and we're saying we need a response back. And in that response is the token. And so I have the token down here that
So all of that first bit is just getting the authentication token.
Yes, exactly.
Right. And presumably you can reuse that.
Yes, exactly. And the tokens live for a period of time, which is why when you're getting used to graph, I'm a big fan of using invoke MG graph requests, because that is a graph wrapper for invoke REST method, and it handles a lot of those timeout pieces and whatnot for you. So let me go to my terminal. Okay, so I had already done all of the tenant ID, app secret. And so when I go and build all of this out, and I'm hitting F12, so we can see here, or F8, and then I do the auth response, and I will show you exactly what's happening. Oops, status code didn't, because I already ran this. Let's see if I already have the token. What did I do? Okay, I made a new terminal. 1 second. I'm trying not to like put all of my tenant information in there.
That's a good point.
Yeah, here, can we, well, okay. Here, I'm gonna stop sharing for 2 seconds.
I'll turn it off.
Okay, thanks.
You're not sharing anymore.
Really quick, app ID. Oops. I'm glad that I'm doing so great at all of this.
Oh, it's back.
Oh, thanks.
Should I put it back or not?
No, give me 2 more seconds. Sorry. This is one of the problems with us using the tenant that I have used, is that I have a bunch of app registrations. And so my history, because I tried to make my day-to-day life easier, has all of that information. And so
while you do that, I'm going to do some housekeeping and just add in my my thanks for joining image. That's all right. If you have any questions, please do pop them into chat, and we will hopefully have a demo of that.
You're missing the that image.
I'm literally attaching it right now. That's why I thought I'd just take this opportunity right now to do that.
There we go.
Load it. Every time I launch a new restream, it deletes that image, and so I have to either remember to put it back before I start the stream, or do it live. Unfortunately, I've not chosen to do it live at all until now, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, so the thing that was fun is I had just done all of this, and I had brought all of this in, and I was like, why I had the whole response, and then I minimized my screen, and apparently that's where everything went. So 1 second. Okay. Okay. Let me just make sure that this goes, and then this, and then I will tell you you can share in just a second.
While we
okay.
wait.
You can.
Nope, she's good. We're good.
She's good now. She's good.
I was going to just introduce the whole Intune Academy thing that we're about to launch very soon, but I will do that later on. It's fine.
Yeah. So I put everything up here. So all I just is copied that, and then I have the auth response. And then now if I go and just pull out the token, and I just run the token. Boom, there's my token.
Oh, wow.
It's very
Is that your
long.
password?
Nope.
That's a long password.
That's
Yeah,
a long
it's not a
password.
It's only valid for a couple of minutes, so if you're copying it down, do it quickly.
Yeah. So now I've connected to Graph, and I had done that previously before, and it's using my access token, and so then I don't have to do anything else. So when we were talking about pagination, I got this from Andrew, and there's tons of people in the community. But basically, you can create a function. So every single time that you're calling Graph, you can now have the response where it's pulling that output of whatever page you're on, and it's following that response. And if there's an OData next link, meaning there's more information, which that's something that you would see in the Graph Explorer. If I'm looking at devices, there's going to be an OData next link. And so basically what it's saying, it's doing a while loop. While we're still having a next link, please get all of these responses and return an output for me.
Oh, so you just have to handle pagination
Exactly.
in a way, and then
the next link is the load more items button in the portal, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's clever.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So let's say that I am going to go do, like, say, devices. I would just do, let's say, device management. Like, I would do the URL, and I would say devices. I can't have it be a comment, but oops, man. I guess I'm having performance anxiety. And so I'm going to get the device management, and I think it's manage devices. We'll find out if I'm right. And if I'm wrong, that's fine, because I will teach you all how I run into things and have issues all the time.
Run it without the function and with to compare the differences.
Oh, yep. Great call. Okay. So normally I would just do invoke, and I'm going to show the invoke MG graph request because I find it easier. And then I would just say method get URI, and that URI means that this endpoint I'm going to use. And so I'm going to go devices. I don't think I need anything else. Let's see if that works. Nope, it doesn't work because I messed up this app reg doesn't have as much. Let me double check on my Graph Explorer. Oh, I didn't use beta. That's why. No, I did. Okay, beta / device management / managed devices. So this is how I go through and make sure that my graph call is correct.
It's a permissions problem.
Yep. Okay. So, all right. So this says that there's 1,000 right here. So that I would take this and I put this here. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, I don't think I have the, let me see what permissions I have on this. So this is where you can see where you need to have the right permissions, and I would go double check if on that app reg, if I have the ability to read all of them. I don't think I have that one. Configuration. Manage devices, read all. Okay, so this is typically what I do. I would add a permission, and then I would go here, Microsoft Graph. I would do application permissions because I'm using an application. Add permissions, and then you have to see how it says it's not granted. I'm going to have to grant that consent. Okay, so now I have to reload that token. So if you can pause for just a second, because I'm going to
wait
rerun.
until I get that screen up so I can pause it. There you go.
Thank you. Just because I want to make sure that I...
It'll save me editing it later on, so yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
We do have a couple more questions in chat and only
perfect.
a minute or two left, so thank you for the questions so far. And thanks, Haley, for being so flexible with the the demos because we didn't prep any of this. So thank you for that.
Well, I wanted to show people that, like, hey, even it's not like that anybody is over here hiding anything from you. Like this is a lot of trial and error for everybody.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
It's
indeed.
nice to see how you troubleshoot and how you go find things. Like
Yeah.
even
That's the most helpful bit.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah. Obviously, the reason we're running live streams at the moment is because we are launching the Intune Academy pretty soon. The courses are actually going to go live as of tomorrow. The first course is going to go live tomorrow. It's an Intune related course, very basic, but it's a nice intro to how we're going to be structuring the courses. The course 2, which is the advanced course, is coming pretty soon. I think August. We'll be able to release that. But yeah, if you are interested, please scan the QR code, join the Discord, join the platform.
Haley, what was your one aha moment working with Graph that you discovered, like when you first maybe started? Like, wow!
yeah, the number one thing that I was once I started looking in Graph Explorer and I started seeing things like, oh, I can figure out the Entra device ID and my Intune device ID. And so now I can start programmatically creating my groups for autopilot. Or that's how I started figuring out how to automate deployment of an application through dev test prod groups, because I started being able to see the metadata and figuring out how Microsoft had built out some of the update groups. I'm trying to think of what is that?
The rings? No.
Yeah, the update rings for because there's Windows Update for Business, and then there's the other one that I'm thinking of.
Autopatch.
Autopatch. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. That is cool.
Yep. So method get output type. See, I shouldn't have tried to use our tenant, which is the problem, because I keep running into.
Did you listen to Andrew?
I know.
Yeah,
If I would have just done what I was planning on doing already.
Who is that guy? It's not even Friday.
It's always
the newsletter guy.
Yeah. I'm gonna pop over and just connect to my tenant 1 second and just run what I was already gonna do. So
that's what happens when you let me out the basement.
I know. That was really
Steve's basement, or have you got your own?
We share.
Right.
That makes sense.
It's the Bat Cave.
Yeah.
Are you sharing your screen?
Yep, you can go ahead and share.
Sorry. I've got to click a button. I clicked. Yes? No?
Yep.
Yes. No, you're fine. I'm loading. So let me make this larger. So on my GitHub, I have Intune Stack, and this is what I'm just using to kind of connect. And so this is a PowerShell module that I wrote, but I'm doing the exact same thing of the connecting to Graph. I'm just importing one PowerShell module, and it knows all of my app ID and all of this, because this is just using everything else that we already did, but I have this all documented on there. So if you have any questions afterward, but this is optimized to be able to use GitHub Actions, so that way I can have a fully autonomous deployment of policies. So that's what we're doing right now. Yeah, so that was the aha when you asked, like, what got me so excited about Graph. This was what happened. So hold on, I'm just gonna run this. But what I will share this is, so the configuration policy, how I started figuring all of this out was systematically going through every single policy, figuring out the policy types. And so I, just created a function of if it's an application profile, app protection policy, and then I just basically did a switch statement of the endpoint. So when I'm just building all of this out of, like, based on the resource of the category that I'm using, this is the endpoint that it needs to go to, and this is the information I want it to display. And so then we're doing an invoke graph request, similar, where it's looking for the display name property based on what type of policy I'm using.
Wow.
So this is how I started doing all of that. So if I go get device configuration policy, let's hope that it returns that. Nope. Okay, hold on. I need to make sure that I loaded
You've got
all
status
of this.
on. You've got status on the end of it.
Oh, thank you. See, it's like I can never read. Oh, yep. Thank you. I see what you're saying. Yep. Because I have a bunch of different functions in here. Okay. So ID. I don't have that ID. That's why. Okay. Hold on. Let me go back to mine. This is in my tenant. So if I go here.
It's the parameter ID doesn't exist.
Yep. That's why I was like, I need to go get a one that I do know. But I haven't
No,
used this in a while.
you need a name. That function's filtering on name, not ID.
Oh, thank you. See, this is why you're here. Here, I'm just going to copy and paste this. Let's make my life easier. I thought everybody would. I wish we had the Jeopardy music while I'm doing this.
I have music. It's not Jeopardy, though.
I guess I don't have a security baseline, so we're going to just go one up again, and we're going to copy this one. Hopefully, I guess I just like moved everything out of my. There we go. Okay. I didn't know what was in my tenant, but this is everything that is returning from Graph for me. So if I went and did this in Graph Explorer, this is what's coming through in PowerShell. So this is how you can start building out all of the parameters that you need to start building out automation and figuring out, hey, what's the status of this policy? If I know that I have 5,000 devices, waiting for an Intune report can be really frustrating. But if I know where all of that information is, then I can start building my own reports, which is what became Intune Stack. So I started building out and treating Intune just like a DevOps engineer would, and would treat Azure and everything that, hey, I made a policy. I now have intelligent deployment of this based on success criteria that I created in advance. And so that's really the power that I think of learning APIs is if you spend the time learning how to use Graph, you can now go take that information with you anywhere. And so, when you're a small team, it's really, really helpful because not only are you learning Graph, but now you're consistently applying policy in your environment. And so now that reduces troubleshooting time. That makes a more reliable user experience. It allows you time to go spend on higher priority work that actually matters and gives visibility if you're, going for a promotion. So
yeah.
Incredible. And Dinesh has an aha moment as well. Finding out multiple URLs to be called when it comes to device configuration policies for Windows. Yeah. Good. This was wonderful, guys. Thank you very much.
Shameless plug if he wants to go to my GitHub. It's just always hype with 2 L's, ALLWAYS hype, and then Intune Stack. It's my pinned repo, and you can go look at all this code yourself and start building out anything that you need to today. I have a whole README of everything that you can do. Andrew also
let's put it in the chat. Can you stick it in the private chat on the left hand side there when you while you do that? We have a couple more questions, but we're not going to have time for them because we're over time already. So please catch us on the next one that Haley's involved in, or maybe Andrew's involved in, and we can talk through those. But things like
I'm not allowed out the basement very often.
We'll do it Friday. You're around on Friday.
Let me see if I can put it in if I put it in this chat. Can I put it in this chat in here?
So a quick takeaway for those listening and watching: how do people get started with it? How do they even get started to learn about Graph API? Resources, websites, things like that. What would you recommend?
I would recommend. Honestly, Andrew. He wrote a book, so I'm just saying he wrote a book. Merrill Fernando, using Graph X-Ray, he has it all documented. Graph Explorer, and then there's tons of really great blogs where people share that in the community. Where is the private chat for me to give it to you? Because I can send it to you on Teams, but I don't.
Bottom left.
Oh, there. I didn't see it. It was kind of grayed out. Okay, there we go.
There we go. Thank you.
There
I
we
couldn't
go.
find it because of the double L in your.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
that threw me.
I'll send a link for Graph Explorer too, so you can pop that in.
All right, that's coming into the
Thank
chat
you, Carter.
across the 3 channels there as well.
Yeah,
we have people watching on my YouTube as well, because this is really a learning experience for me, as well as the Robopack LinkedIn and Robopack YouTube. But those 3 links should be coming in now, and even the Graph XP one. Thank you, Haley.
Mhm.
Cool.
It's a
This
great.
was fun. Thank you for joining. Thank you, all 3 of you, for jumping in.
Amazing work, Haley. Amazing. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
I just love the way you tackled it and troubleshoot, and you made mistakes and you found things. That's what IT admins do, real world. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We will be back in, I don't know when we're scheduling the next one. Maybe next week, maybe the week after. But for now, we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
All right. Cheers.